What's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, Cam Akers had a lot to say about the trick play Wildcat touchdown he threw to Josh Oliver, and also apparently in the second half, if Carson Wentz wasn't able to return to the game and Max Brosmer were to have to go in there, apparently Cam Akers would have been the backup quarterback. So we'll share with you guys the conversation he had with a reporter here in a second. Then also, Kevin Seifert put out a great article about all the Vikings players chiming in on their thoughts about the trip across the pond. So we'll dive into all that on today's show. But guys, I do want to say thank you guys so much. We just crossed over 64,000 subscribers this past weekend, and the support on the channel has been unbelievable. But today, I'm going to put my goal as 64,500 subscribers. We are closing in here on 100K. I didn't even think this was possible when I started doing Vikings YouTube videos back in the day, but we're 35,000 away. But let's just focus on today's goal, 64,500 subs. If you guys are new here, have not hit that subscribe button just yet, help us out. Help us reach our eventual goal of 100,000 subs. All right, so let's talk about this play. So it was the Cam Akers Wildcat touchdown, and this was just a beautiful play design, beautiful play call from Kevin O'Connell. Cam Akers in the gun, rolls out to his right. Josh Oliver running kind of like a naked corner route where he's pretending like he's blocking, peeled off to the corner, and the Cam Akers delivered a hell of a throw. But a reporter did ask Cam Akers about this play, saying, did you have a feeling when that might get called? Because obviously this was something they put in the game plan early on in the week, and he said this. He said, he told me he was going to call it. I didn't know when, obviously, but it got called, and me and Josh were ready, and they were definitely ready indeed. I mean, it was perfectly executed, perfectly drawn-up play, and it was also at a perfect time in the game. Early on, you don't normally expect those trick plays on your second offensive possession of the game, but the Vikings went to it, and it was a perfect play design. And then also reporters then said this, saying, how long have you had this play in your pocket? Like, when was this installed? And then Akers responded, probably 2 days, just since Thursday. So they just put this in the game plan. They just designed this play, and it was perfectly executed. Now, that speaks to the players out there executing it, but also Kevin O'Connell getting them ready to go. And then the reporter asked, were you comfortable running the play? Because obviously Cam Akers, a running back, him throwing a pass, that's a big responsibility for the back. But then he responded with this, anything on the grass I can do, man. Anything on the grass. So clearly Cam Akers is willing to do anything for this football team. And he actually did play quarterback in high school. I saw a couple of highlights earlier. This guy was kind of a dog. Like, I could see definitely Kevin O'Connell maybe going back to it for a play or two in the future. But then the reporter asked, did that make you the emergency quarterback? Because I remember at halftime, when we were live here on the channel, when Carson Wentz got hurt, like, it looked like Max Brosmer was for sure going to start the second half. But then I started thinking, well, they just cut Desmond Ridder. Who is the third quarterback? They didn't have one. They just came into that game with two QBs, so they were a play away potentially from having Cam Akers being the emergency quarterback, and that was the plan. Akers said, yeah, I had a helmet ready with speakers in it. So at halftime of the Browns game, you're down 14-10. Obviously, not looking good in the game, and you had to prepare your third-string running back to potentially be your emergency quarterback, and you still ended up getting a win on top of all that. But then the reporter said, how much practice did you get at QB? And obviously Cam Akers, not practicing a lot at quarterback. This is what he had to say. He said, 0. Yeah, man, it's all about being ready. Preparation, I was ready. Now, obviously, I'm very happy the Vikings got the win, and I'm very happy that Carson Wentz was able to return to that game. But I will say, I would have been a little intrigued to see how the offense would have operated. Let's just say Wentz couldn't return, and Brosmer rolled his ankle and he wasn't ready to go. Like, would it really have been just Wildcat the entire game? I'm curious what KOC would have had to do. But, after listening to this conversation Akers had, I absolutely love this guy. Like, clearly he loves football. He loves the game. He loves being a part of the Minnesota Vikings. And I'll say this to the Vikings front office. Don't let him leave this offseason. If you're going to bring him back again, might as well just sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal. This guy's clearly great for the locker room. Kevin O'Connell, clearly a massive fan of his game. And, when he does run the ball, he has, been pretty productive in this outside zone scheme that KOC loves to run. So if you guys want to show our emergency quarterback some love down below in the comment section, type his jersey number, type those 31s to show Cam Akers your support down below. Pretty cool story, though, coming out of the Cleveland Browns game. Like, it's just crazy how the NFL world, it is a soap opera every single week. You truly never know what's going to happen. I mean, if I would have told you guys before the Browns game that at halftime, Cam Akers was being prepared to be the backup quarterback in the second half, you would have called me crazy. So the NFL, it's 1 of 1. Let's show Cam Akers some love. Type those 31s down below. All right, coming up next here on the program, we're going to talk about what the Vikings players had to say about the international trip. Some of them had some interesting thoughts, so we'll talk about that here in a second. But before we do so, today's show is brought to you guys by Factor Meals. Now, if you guys want to eat smart, head over to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and use code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Now, fall always feels like a reset. Between back to school, busier routines, and shorter days, finding time to cook can be tough. That's why I love Factor. Their chef prepared, dietitian meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious no matter how hectic the season gets. And they also offer more variety, more meals. You can choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp, at no extra cost. And they also support your wellness goals, even more GLP-1 friendly meals, and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats. So you guys, if you want to eat smarter, head over to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and use code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code VikingsChat50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Now, this offer is only valid for new customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. So click that link in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, let's dive into what the players had to say about the international trip because, even though it can be fun for fans, you wake up Sunday morning, you get to watch your favorite football team, it is definitely a grind for these players. I mean, you're away from your families, you're, not accustomed to your routine. It's completely different over there, but it can be a good bonding experience. But this is what TJ Hawkinson had to say about the trip. He said it was tough. You're not eating the way you normally eat. You're not getting the recovery you normally get. You're not seeing the people you normally see. You're not getting the juice you usually get. There's so many things that go into it, but we talked about it all week. There's so many excuses. You can point to one, you can point to two, you can point to 20. At the end of the day, it's like, let's grind. Let's not seek comfort. I love that last part from TJ saying, let's not seek comfort. And it kind of gets me back to the point I've been making all week. Not only on top of the injuries, but with the international trip, like we have no idea who the 2025 Vikings really are. Like if I had to give a take right now, like what I think the Vikings record is going to be at the end of the season, I have no idea. If they lose their next 5 games, I wouldn't be shocked. If they win their next 5 games, I would not be shocked. We do not know who the 2025 Vikings are just yet, so it's tough to get a, for sure take out there on how good this football team can really be. But also, I think this should help the Vikings the rest of the way because they are going through something that no other team has ever went through, not only this year, but in NFL history. No team has ever played back-to-back games across the pond, and that's what the Vikings are doing here. Now, obviously, there is a negative to it. Like TJ was saying, you're not eating the same. You're not getting the same recovery, but also that bonding experience you can get with your brothers out there on the football field and just being with them 24/7. Like that can have some value. And then I'm sure like you go through something really hard in your life, when it's going super smooth, it's going to feel even easier. So I could really see this team getting going. But also defensive coordinator Brian Flores chimed in on this conversation saying this: I'm not a homebody, but I certainly miss my family. They were here for Ireland. That was great. Once they go, it's just the boys had a game that I missed, talking about his kids. We had a FaceTime, but it's good to be here with the team. There's certainly some team building and camaraderie happening. Guys are out catching up, spending time together. That's good from a team bonding standpoint. Overall, look, you get an opportunity to go overseas, to go to London, to go to Ireland, see the world. That's great. It tells you what football can do for you. And that's also pretty good perspective from Brian Flores, because obviously these guys, I'm sure they weren't the biggest fans of this. Like that's why I doubt the Vikings sign up for this and agree to do this again. But Flores makes a good point. Like it's cool to go travel the world, cool to see other parts of the world, and they were able to go to Ireland, they were able to go to London, see all that. So I'm sure there is some benefit there. But I'll tell you what, two things that just can't happen again overseas: the play clock issue against the Steelers. Now, if you guys remember when the Vikings got the football back, it was 24-21. They had around 50 seconds, no timeouts, but they still had a chance to go win that football game. And then the play clock issue, there was no play clock facing Carson Wentz. So he had no idea how much time was on the play clock, which resulted in a false start or a delay of game coming off a spiked ball. That would never happen. That would never happen if you had the appropriate commodities to support the offense, which having a play clock in the viewing point of the quarterback That's massive. Then also, Will Reichard's kick, it just hit a wire. Like, those are two huge mishaps from the NFL. And, if they want to have like the 17-game international package, like they've been talking about, these two cannot happen. Like, what if Will Reichard's kick was a game winner and it hit a line and nobody noticed it until after the game? Like, what would we be talking about at these international games? We'd be saying we got to abolish them. We can't go back over there if their stadiums aren't going to be ready to go. So I'll ask you guys this to close out today's show. Are you a fan of the international games? I probably will say yes and no to this. Like, I do like getting up early and watch my favorite football team, because then you get to watch the rest of the games. But I'm sure from a player's perspective, they're not the biggest fans of it. So yes and no for me. But you guys, I'm gonna hear your thoughts. Are you a fan of the international games? And also hit that subscribe button on your way out. Help us reach that final goal of 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube. We appreciate all of you guys watching. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.